What's up, folks? I'm Chris, your MLB writer here at Occupy Fantasy, here with a look at the 13-game main slate for MLB DFS on FanDuel, DraftKings, and Yahoo here on Tuesday, July 26th. Our favorite pitcher tonight is Shane McClanahan of the Tampa Bay Rays. There's a big red flag, though. There is a potential rainout here in Baltimore for the Rays on the road that we need to work around. So keep an eye on the weather situation in Baltimore right up until lock time. If we can play McClanahan, we want to get him in as many lineups as possible tonight. If you play single entry stuff, I would honestly just play him, provided the weather cooperates, with his massively high 22.5 Occupy Fantasy Index in our model. Projects for over 1.5 strikeouts per inning and is one of the biggest favorites on the board at a minus 195 on the money line against Baltimore this evening. McClanahan with very strong recent batted ball data on his side. Now, the other really high strikeout projection that I think is worth prioritizing, Spencer Strider, the favored side of this Braves-Phillies game, just 8,700 on DraftKings, 9,100 over on FanDuel, even 41 on Yahoo's a little late in their pricing structure. Minus 120 on the money line. This is a fairly close matchup because he's facing off with Aaron Nola, who is slightly ahead of Strider in our model. But Strider with the strikeout edge by far, almost 1.6 strikeouts per inning projected to just 1.3 for Nola. Now, talked about this in a few videos. DFS players don't tend to like rostering two high-quality pitchers against each other in the same lineup if they can avoid it. It's just something that we've looked at historical lineups on, and it just doesn't tend to happen all that often when people can avoid it on big slates like this. So playing Nola and Strider in the same lineup is more than acceptable this evening, and it may be something that we're forced into doing on two pitcher sites if we cannot play McClanahan tonight. Behind these three, the next place you might be inclined to go is Carlos Rodon. We certainly have it ranked that way. The one thing to be concerned with Rodon's matchup with the Diamondbacks tonight, his recent batted ball data is one of the worst profiles on this entire slate. Very high batted ball exit velocity and very far batted ball distance conceded to opposing hitters over the last 2 weeks of his outings. Luis Garcia of the Astros will hopefully have a better time than Jake Odorizzi had last night against the Oakland Athletics. Oakland, let's check our stacks dashboard. Once again, at the bottom of our model, they're tied as the worst offense tonight with Baltimore in their matchup with McClanahan. So gotta like Luis Garcia against the Athletics as an interesting play this evening. Probably fine in all contest types as a favorite against one of the worst performing lineups in baseball overall over the last 30 days of play. Oakland averaging under 4 DraftKings points per plate appearance and striking out at an above average rate. Mike Clevinger is the first pitcher in our model tonight that falls under that 15 number that we like to look for with starting pitchers. But he does face off against the Detroit Tigers. Now, obviously, Detroit punished us last night against Manaea, but still the peripherals here very strong for this matchup for Clevinger. Minus 190 on the money line. Projects for over a strikeout per inning. Reasonable salary on all contest providers this evening. Very good recent batted ball exit velocity against, but the batted ball distance somewhat concerning for Clevinger, so probably high risk only. After that, it does get to be a little dicey. I do think you can get away with just sticking with these big 4 to 5 guys here at the top, McClanahan through Garcia. That's probably what I will be doing this evening myself. Now, top offenses. You know by now if you've been watching our videos for a while. First thing we like to do, who are the worst ranked pitchers in our model? Should we key on those guys? Tyler Gilbert was scratched by the Diamondbacks last night, did not pitch. They elected to go with Merrill Kelly, a much better pitcher against the San Francisco Giants. So we actually posted a video yesterday where I analyzed this matchup. We had San Francisco as the number 1 stack on our model against Gilbert, who was a lefty. San Francisco hits lefties very well. Gilbert, very poor against right-handed hitters. Gilbert allowing 244 isolated slugging, 359 weighted on base average against right-handed hitters over his recent sample of outings. So I think you should be excited to roster some Giants at a cheap salary tonight against Gilbert once again. It's the same matchup we had last night. We liked last night. We like it again tonight. Jose Suarez against the Kansas City Royals. Michael Kopech of the White Sox against the Colorado Rockies. German Marquez against the White Sox. These are some of the other spots that I think we'll be interested in the stacks dashboard. And there's no surprise. We are, in fact, very high on the White Sox in their matchup, the Royals and the Rockies. It is definitely never a surprise when we're high on both sides of the Coors Field game. The profile that we like to highlight with Coors Field games that we feel can be worth fading at times is when we get this formula where we have a high Occupy Fantasy Index, low weighted on base average. This is a middle of the road weighted on base average projection for the White Sox and a basement level projection for Colorado as far as weighted on base average is considered. Weighted on base average is the metric outside of OF index that correlates the most with fantasy point production in fantasy baseball for hitters for us. So these are red flags that to me suggest both sides of the Coors Field game are best reserved for high risk only. And our model, I believe, has it ranked appropriately here. The White Sox are the better side of that matchup. See the San Francisco Giants in their matchup with Gilbert, 4th highest weighted on base average in the entire slate, highest power upside, number 1 isolated slugging projection, and a reasonably high 5.3 implied team total in betting markets. San Francisco will be popular tonight, but not outrageously popular since their implied team total is not the highest on this slate. That would be the Boston Red Sox with a just over 6-run implied team total in their matchup with the Cleveland Guardians tonight. Guardians going with what looks like a bullpen type game with their pitching staff, so betting market's pretty high on the Red Sox in that matchup. Toronto with the 2nd highest implied team total, also in a very strong spot, and also probably a good low-risk stack tonight because they have the highest projected weighted on base average in our model this evening. Now, I'm going to go back to the well with those same San Francisco Giants that I talked about in yesterday's video. I still like this matchup. I still like the opportunity to play one of our high upside pitchers, get in another one like Nola, have 46, 66 per player remaining for the rest of my lineup. We get the rain out in Baltimore, then I'm more than okay with running both sides of this Braves-Phillies game, having a little more salary to play with. May even end up doing that anyway, even if McClanahan is playing, frankly. And then over on FanDuel, same idea here, McClanahan, 4 high upside San Francisco Giants hitters, 3,300 per player remaining. We get a rain out in Baltimore. We can drop down from McClanahan. We could play Nola. Still have even more left because McClanahan is the most expensive pitcher on this slate. That's how I think we should attack Tuesday night's MLB DFS slate. Big slates like this are a different animal, but our model does tend to point out the best spots that we should focus on in high-risk contests, and that's why we trust it here and try to lean on that. Keep an eye out for the daily plug at DrFantasy.com. That'll be posted by about 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so if anything changes tonight like it did last night with that Gilbert scratch, it will be accounted for in the plug article, and you'll know how we feel and how that may have changed from the publication of this video. That's one of the things that we do for you. If you want to talk about MLB DFS up until lock, you can consider joining our Discord. There's a link to do so below the description of every video that we have in here. That's one of the places we discussed the scratch last night and how that impacted the slate, so it's important to be in our Discord if you want to see how we feel about these changes right up until basically the last second of any given slate. Good luck tonight, and we'll talk to you tomorrow for more MLB DFS.